Hey, it's Norm from Tesla.com. I'm here at GDC 2014. One of the big surprise announcements was that Sony has its own virtual reality headset. I'm here with George Andreas. You're a creative director at Sony Computer Entertainment.
That's correct, yes.
And you guys have a virtual reality headset that's working right now.
Yes. It's been rumored over the last few months, and I think it's it's the first public outing, so people get to see it for the first time. Very excited to be here. I'm very excited to be showing it to the public and to kind of make those rumors a reality, I guess. So yeah,
it's called Project Morpheus.
Project Morpheus, that's
and
correct.
That's based on the Lord of Dreams, the Sandman.
Lord of Dreams, yes. Some people kind of relate it a little bit to the Matrix movies as well, but yeah, Lord of Dreams. It's about kind of projecting and a little bit of a deity, new worlds, new things to experience. So.
And it's an HMD that works with the PlayStation 4.
That's correct. Yes.
This is something you guys have been developing for a while now. Where did this start, and what was the design approach?
So there was a talk given the other day, Shuhei, leader of the Worldwide 2 Days. He basically was talking about the development of the kit has been nearly 2 or 3 years now. So it's something that's been in the background. The teams at Sony have been working very hard to try and make it a reality. I guess with all electronics companies, especially with Sony, always looking to do new things and try and forge ahead and look for the next big thing. So I think once we started putting some demos together and we got to see some traction internally, there were a few disbelievers. It took a while to kind of get people to believe in it, but I think once you got the great demos there, the demos were able to really punctuate how fantastic VR really is. And so yeah,
in terms of the technologies, what are the technologies that make VR possible now? That sense of presence that you guys want to achieve.
Yeah.
I mean, PlayStation 4 obviously had to come out first because it's an accessory for that. But what in terms of the head tracking, in terms of display?
So there's a lot of things. Obviously, we have a very low latency. That's one of the big key things, really, to try and stop things like nausea. We also have a very fast frame rate as well. So all of these factors combined together. We have two 1080p screens, obviously.
There are two 1080p
There's
screens?
two 1080p screens,
okay.
So high resolution. And all these factors come together to try and make the experience as believable as possible. The software that we create has to be also trying to kind of get the player immersed as much as possible. Some people call it sense of presence. I call it true immersion. But true immersion is something that allows players to actually adopt a persona, to be in the experience and to be experiencing it in a way that they would if they were there in the real world. And
sure.
All of these elements together, things like motion tracking, being able to move your head to the left and to the right. As you can see with these new headsets, we have LEDs at the back as well, so we can track 360-degree rotation. We have other things in our ecosystem, such as the DS4 controller. We have the Move controller as well, so that gives us limbs if we want to have 2 limbs in the experience as well. So all of these things can add together to make a very immersive experience.
I want to get into the technical details. Let's start with the display. You said 2 1080p displays.
Yes.
It's 960 by 1080 for each eye?
That's correct, yes.
And you guys are using an LCD. What's the advantage of using an LCD over an AMOLED in terms of the RGB stripe and the screen door effect?
So I think it's more to do with the refresh and the ability to just get a very clean image.
Okay. What's the refresh rate you guys are using?
Oh, I'm not quite sure off the top of my head.
Okay,
actually.
But it's a high enough refresh rate.
It's high enough, yes. And it'll be very smooth, yes.
Okay, and then you guys are using custom-made optics for field of view?
That's correct, yes.
What degree field of view will your eyes be able to see?
So there is somebody else we can get involved. It's more technical if you wanted to go into all those technical specs. I'm not sure we're releasing too much of that information today, but we can talk a little bit more about that.
All-encompassing field of view.
It is, yes, and we'll be able to turn all the way around as well and be able to see things that are behind you as well. So yeah, 360-degree view.
360 degrees. So it uses the camera, and it's IR-based?
Yes, it is, yes.
So IR LEDs all around?
All the way around, from the front and to the sides and around the back as well. So as I said, you'll be able to turn all the way around, and we'll always be able to kind of get your orientation and see where you are. So.
And in terms of the lighting in the back, what's the function of having that light in the back?
So when the players turn away from the camera, they've got a point of reference at the back of the head, so they can turn all the way around, and we do get to see, we can have proper 360-degree rotation. I think there are some VR systems that don't have full 360-degree rotation. Right. But it's very important from an experiential perspective to allow players to experience VR truly and totally. And I think being able to turn all the way around, being able to look all the way up and look all the way down is part of VR, and it's part of the immersion. And so having LEDs at the back does allow us to kind of push that level of interaction and immersion.
You guys are designing this to work standing up. In this demo in particular, I was able to bend my knees down and see the virtual model bend down.
Yes.
Is this going to be experience designed both for standing up and sitting down?
So yeah, we're working on a bunch of different demos at the moment. This one is all about standing up, because in the real world you'd stand up in a shark cage, and so we thought this would be a great example, a great demonstration of the tech from a standing position. There are experiences that work very well from a seated position as well. It just depends what you're doing. If you're in a cockpit, for instance, that will work quite well if you're seated.
Right.
But we have a bunch of different demos that we've done, and this is just one of those.
And it plugs into the PS4. Is that going to be a pass-through system? The PS4 has their HDMI out.
The idea will be that it's literally, you go to wherever it is you're going to get it from, whether it's Best Buy or Walmart's. We want it to be as simple and as ergonomic as possible. People will be able to buy it from day one, go home. We don't want a lot of setup. We want it to be very straightforward and intuitive. Plug one lead in, and hopefully that will be it. So we want it to be very, very simple. There is a breakout box on the system as well that allows us to have a big screen display as well.
So you can still plug it in onto your TV.
You can still plug it into the TV, yes.
But it would be a single-player experience. The PS4 is going to support one of the Morpheus displays.
This is what we're doing. It is, but what we're trying to do is trying to make VR not just something that's a solitary experience. I think we do have what we're calling the social screen, where you can actually see the feed on the big screen, and we feel that kind of energizes the room. People are able to see what's going on and experience what the person who's wearing the VR headset can actually see. We do have other ideas with this as well. We actually got it backstage where we can actually use companion devices as well. So for instance, in this particular demo, we can actually throw like another shark into the scene, or even generate a sea turtle and play around with that in the scene.
So someone at a PS Vita.
That's correct. So it makes it a more social experience. It's not just an isolated experience, and I think that's one of the big things that we're trying to do.
A lot of game design opportunities.
Lots, plenty.
In terms of the ergonomics, it's a really interesting design. The headband I thought was really comfortable. What is this going to be, the design approach you guys are experimenting with?
Yeah, so obviously as you go through any kind of hardware launch, you iterate on the design, and this is kind of where we are currently today. It's taken many steps to get it to where it is today. There are more designs that we're looking at, so the ergonomics are coming on. This isn't final. There will be modifications made to this design, but you know, Sony are a great electronics company. We know consumer electronics. We're making something that will hopefully be aspirational. It looks very cool. We've got a lot of great feedback from people so far. Some people think they look like Iron Man kind of wearing the suit, so it looks very cool. So we're on the right path with it, and we're very happy with where we are currently today.
From a development standpoint, do you feel like you're feature complete? Are you looking to add more features? What are the next targets for you in terms of development?
I think ergonomics is a big one. We want to make sure that it's very easy to put on, it's very comfortable. Obviously the software that we're going to be creating will help kind of demonstrate how cool VR can actually be. I think in terms of the LEDs, I think that's pretty much there or thereabouts in terms of being able to get 360-degree rotation. We obviously have the other ecosystem to combine with this. Like I said, you already have the Move or the DS4, so we have peripherals there that do allow us to dig into, I guess, VR and to make unique experiences. But it's a work in progress. This is where we are today, and we'll see in the future where it does go.
And it will be in the future, so you guys have said it's something not for this year.
Well, we're not saying anything specifically about the release date. That's something that's still under consideration. And I think this is just our way of saying, you know, Sony's in this space, we're looking at VR, we think it's a viable thing for the future. We don't think it's just for games as well and just for gamers. We do feel that there will be applications that will appeal to a lot of different people.
Multimedia experiences,
movies. You know, there's a whole bunch of things that we're working on at the studio as well that kind of bring that a little bit more to the fore. But yeah, we think VR is something that will be very groundbreaking. It is obviously creating a lot of buzz at the moment, and hopefully we can generate enough interest and the right software to really showcase that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, George. We can't wait for this to come out into the real world and play it with our PlayStation 4s as well. Well, that's it for GDC 2014. We're so lucky to be able to try out Project Morpheus here at the Sony booth. I'm Norm. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel with more amazing stuff from virtual reality at GDC, video games, tech, all that kind of stuff on Tesla.com. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Okay, Norm, we just got out of the demos. What did you think?
So we did about the same demo with the Deep. They had EU Valkyrie also, which I didn't get to try. We didn't get to try. It was a real polished demo.
That was literally the first thing that jumped out to me, is that this is software that looks like it was made by a real development house. Not that the Oculus demos we've seen haven't been great, but the motion of the animals was great. The flow of all the fish in their what are schools? Schools of fish were all really natural and fluid.
That also tells me, it also brought to light how uninteractive that demo was. All you were doing was looking around.
Yeah.
As opposed to the Oculus demo where you were playing a game.
Well, we didn't play Valkyrie, which is a game. It's a space shooter. It's a cockpit game. This you were standing up though, also, which is unusual for VR demos in my experience. I don't think I've stood up during a VR demo or any VR experience so far
Not here, yeah. Oculus, you have to sit down.
Yeah.
And they made a big point of saying that this is going to be both a couch and standing experience.
Mm-hmm.
For Valkyrie, I imagine that's something you're going to sit down and play with.
So let's talk about presence, though.
Yes.
Because in this demo, you're in a cage, you're a diver, you can look down, you can see the fins on your feet, and because the eye camera does some skeleton tracking, when you bend your knees bend in the game, and you got that thing that I wanted during the Oculus Couch Nights demo the other day. Now, unfortunately, that's where it ended. If you lifted up a foot, the foot didn't move, and that was super disorienting.
Yeah, so all you were doing was squats the entire time. You also had the DualShock controller, which that's tracked by the camera, so it has rotational movement and a little bit of translation movement.
So it has gyros, accelerometer, and the camera knows its position based on the light. So you were able to do head and body independently, or at least head and gun independently.
So what was interesting about this is I thought the ergonomics. It was felt really comfortable. The band, once that elastic band got over your head, because if you look at the headset, it's white plastic.
Yeah.
But inside the white plastic is a black elastic band. That fit pretty snugly. There's no top band like you have with the Oculus.
Right.
And I think the design here, the weight distribution works.
I think it's probably a little bit heavier. The other thing that they did a really great job with is you put the headset on, and then again, it's a prototype, so this all can probably change. But when you put the headset on, the visor's pretty far out, and then you squinch it in.
Right, you slap it down.
And it had almost like a rubber gasket rather than a foam pad and a big hard plastic shell. So even though I was wearing glasses, it pushed right up to my eyes and gave me a pretty good seal.
Like binoculars.
About the same field of view as the Oculus. I would say roughly equivalent to putting on a dive mask. I think this dive demo didn't happen by accident.
Right. Also, they're using an LCD panel, so you're talking about square pixels with the screen door.
High enough resolution, I didn't notice the screen door.
If you stare really closely, you can see it, but if you're moving, not so much. The RGB stripe arrangement of these subpixels, noticeably different from your Pentile Strike and the AMOLED. Not as bright, clearly, as the Oculus in the demo.
That didn't bother me because you're in a dark environment, you're isolated.
Now how about moving?
I didn't notice a whole lot of motion blur, but because of the demo that we were in, there was not a lot of high contrast situations. So you were looking at bright blue on light gray, and like nothing was moving super fast. You couldn't move the camera super fast.
My feeling is that in terms of the persistent vision, it is better than Oculus DK1, but I thought there was more smearing on the Morpheus than on Development Kit 2.
I would definitely agree with that, or Crystal Cove for that matter. I was pretty impressed. Like, this was much better. The optics were great. You had a pretty good field of view. The comfort was there. Having the controller and the skeletal tracking in the camera actually added a lot to that presence thing. It's a piece that Oculus doesn't have.
So concerns right now, frame rate. There were some people, John Carmack on Twitter, talking some smack about PS4 not being able to pump out enough frames.
I think
on this.
His quote was, PS3 games that run at 60 frames a second will work with this. And then he came back later and said, hey, not taking shots.
It was not a high poly demo.
Yeah.
And also you can only use one with the PS4. You're not going to be able to plug multiple Oculus.
I don't think you'll be able to plug multiple Oculuses into one computer either. I think the thing to take away from this is when we posted the Oculus thing yesterday, or day before yesterday, a lot of people came out and were saying, hey, this is a war, the VR war is on. This stuff is all so new that anybody, especially a company of Sony scale and with the software development resources that Sony has, coming in and building for this for VR is good for the VR community. Like it is not a zero-sum game. People buying Sony stuff aren't going to not buy Oculus stuff. It's not going to take away from anything. And more people pushing forward will just be better for everyone.
And there are lessons learned for both companies.
I mean, I think that this was a really impressive first showing. I mean, they had the advantage of the late start. I'm interested to see what Microsoft does next and anybody else who comes in. So,
all right.
I guess that'll do it for us at Sony at GDC 2014. See you guys later.
Bye.